Hi guys, welcome to my channel Creatively Expressive. My name is Amy and today I want to show you how I created 8 beach and nautical themed DIYs using mostly Dollar Tree products. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you found me and I would really appreciate it if you consider subscribing. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. I really do appreciate your continued support. Like I said, I created 8 beach themed DIYs using Dollar Tree products and I think they turned out so stinking cute. So if you want to see how I created these, please stick around. Alright, so let's get started. So for our first project, we're using these little wooden clothespin fish. And this is a sign that we got from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just taking that sign apart and then I'm going to rip that picture off of there. And then I'm going to paint the other side with this aqua blue and white acrylic paint mixed together to make a lighter blue. And now I'm just dry brushing some white paint over the frame just to give it a more beachy look. And now I'm just prying those clothespins off of the back of the fish. And as you can see, I accidentally broke one of them, so I'm just super gluing his fin back onto his body. And now I'm just going to trace the fish in random spots on the picture with a pencil. And I did 9 of them. And so I'm going to paint 3 of those with the aqua blue, 3 of those with the khaki, and 3 of those with a white acrylic paint. And I was inspired to make this by, on Pinterest, I saw a lot of School of Fish art that you could buy, but they were a lot bigger, and they weren't on a picture, most of them. But I thought it would be cute to make a little mini version once I saw those little fish at the Dollar Tree. So now I'm just going to take some craft paper and glue it onto the back side where we had ripped the picture off, just so you can't see the ugly back side of it, just to make it more pretty. So I just have to glue that on and then cut off the excess. And now we're just taking some popsicle sticks and I'm cutting them a little bit smaller than each of the fish. And then I just super glued the popsicle sticks onto the back of the fish. And now I'm using some Dollar Tree super glue to glue them onto the picture. And there you go. There's the finished project. What do you guys think? I think it is so cute. Now for our second project, we're taking this beach sign that we got from the dollar store. And we're just gonna rip the raised beach off of there, and I'm going to sand it down. And I figured out after I bought this that you can't take the picture out of the frame. It's all one piece. So I'm just sanding that off, and then I'm going to put some painter's tape around the edge to protect the frame. And then I'm going to paint that with some white acrylic paint. And I made two of these, and I did them 2 different ways. This first way was a lot more difficult. And then I figured out an easier way for the second one. So I'm just showing you how I did the first one. I bought this table runner off of Amazon. I thought it looked like blue burlap. And so, but it was cheaper than the blue burlap. So I just bought a table runner off of Amazon and I cut it down. And now I'm just Mod Podging it to the inside of that picture. And I left it a little bit larger than the picture itself. And the plan was to Mod Podge it in there and then to push the excess table runner under the frame because there's a little gap between the frame and the picture. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just tucking that under, and then I'm going to Mod Podge the whole thing really good, and then we're going to let it sit overnight to dry. And once that's dry, I take what is that called? A craft knife? An X-Acto knife. And I'm just running it along the edge of that picture, in between the frame and the picture, and trying to cut off the excess fabric. And it was kind of difficult. So then I came up with a different idea for the second one. So I cut a piece of white cardstock the same size as the picture, and then I Mod Podged some of that table runner on top of that cardstock, and now I'm just cutting it just a little bit larger than the cardstock, and then I'm just gonna put it inside of there. And I made a mistake. I should have put Mod Podge on the inside of the picture before I put the cardstock in there, but I forgot to do that. But when you do that, make sure you put some Mod Podge down first before you put the cardstock in there. So I just tucked that in there, and now I'm just tucking that little bit of extra table runner between the picture and the frame. And then I'm just going to Mod Podge in the corners. I think I'm trying to attempt to make it stay in there better, since I forgot to put the Mod Podge in between the cardstock and the picture. And then also I'm trying to get the Mod Podge on the extra fabric that I tucked in between the picture and the frame. And now I'm just taking these 2 starfish and these 2 sand dollars that I got from the Dollar Tree, and we're just going to hot glue them onto the pictures. 2 starfish on one picture and 2 sand dollars on the other picture. And that's it. What do you guys think? Now for our third project, I'm taking this wooden palette, I guess, mini wood palette that I got from Dollar General. And I mixed a dark blue color together. You could just buy it already pre-made, but I didn't have the color I wanted, so I mixed it together. And I'm just dry brushing some of that blue onto the bottom. And then I'm going to add a little bit of white to that and make it a little bit lighter. Then once it's the shade that I like, I'm going to dry brush that right above that darker blue color. We're going to go for like a ombre effect over this little wood sign that I got from Dollar General. And so now I'm just adding a little bit more white. And we're going to dry brush that over half of that wood piece. And you can see I'm leaving, I don't want to like super great coverage because I want some of that brown wood to still show through. I want it to look aged and distressed. And now I'm just adding more white to it to make it the blue even lighter color. And dry brushing that above that previous blue that we just did. And now I'm taking some aqua blue, and I still have some of that previous blue onto my paintbrush, and I'm just dipping it into that aqua blue, and we're dry brushing that onto the sign. And now I dry brushed some aqua blue, I think with a clean paintbrush above that. And now I'm mixing some of the aqua blue with some white and dry brushing that onto it. And then we're just going to add a little bit more white to get a super light blue color. And dry brush that across the top of the sign. And now I got this wood anchor from Walmart. It was either like $1 or $1.50. It was super cheap. And I'm just painting it with some white chalk paint. And once I have that completely covered, I go back in with a little hand sander and I just sand around the edges just to give it a little bit more of a distressed look. And now I got this blue jute twine from the Dollar Tree, and I'm taking 2 pieces and I'm hot gluing the end together because I thought it was a little bit too thin. And then I'm just going to glue the end around the back side of that anchor. And then I'm just going to wrap it around the anchor however I think it'll look good. And I'm twisting the jute twine together as I go so it looks like one piece. And then I'm going to hot glue it in just random spots on the back so it stays on there better. And now I'm just taking a lighter and I'm just burning the extra little threads off of that jute twine. And then I'm going to hot glue the whole anchor to my sign. And that's it. What do you guys think? Now we're just taking this long rectangular sign, this beach sign, and this anchor that are all from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to rip off that picture off of that rectangular sign, and then I'm going to sand it down smooth. And now I couldn't decide what color I wanted to do this. So first I painted with the white chalk paint, and then I decided I didn't like that. So then I go back in with some khaki acrylic paint, and I paint over the entire thing with that khaki color. And then I decide I want to dry brush some white over the khaki just to give it a more beachy look. And then I'm going to dry brush some of this aqua blue or aqua sky blue acrylic paint over the beach sign. And I'm going lighter because I'm kind of light, so you can see some of that brown still peeking through. And I just dry brush over the whole sign with that aqua blue color, or aqua sky. I'm not sure what it's called. Aqua blue, aqua sky. It's a beachy blue color. And now my anchor that I got from the dollar store was red. I couldn't find a white one. So I'm just going to paint mine with some white chalk paint until it's a solid white and you can't see that red anymore. But then I wanted it to have a distressed look. And since I couldn't sand it down because the red would show, I'm just dry brushing some of that khaki tan color over it just to make it look more aged and distressed. And now I'm taking some of this white and tan jute twine, and I'm doing the same thing I did with the previous anchor. I twist 2 pieces together, and then I hot glue it to the anchor, and then I'm just wrapping it around the anchor and twisting the 2 pieces together as I go, and just wrapping it around randomly how I think it'll look good, and then just hot gluing in random spots on the back side so that it stays on there real good. And now I am just putting the anchor and the beach sign onto the top of that rectangular sign, and I'm marking on my anchor where I want it to overlap on the beach. And now I'm just putting some wood glue on some of the spots on the bottom of that beach sign, and then some hot glue on the other spots. And I stick it to the rectangular sign, and then I just put some hot glue on the anchor and hot glue it to the beach sign and to the rectangular sign. And that's it. What do you guys think? I think this one is so pretty. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And let me know at the end of this, if you watch the whole thing, which one's your favorite project. So with this one, we're taking 3 of these little nautical house signs that I got from the dollar store. And I just rip the pictures off, sand them down, and then I'm going to paint each of them with some white chalk paint. And so for the first sign, we're going to go vertically with some tape. I can't think of what that tape's called. And I just put a piece down the center. And then I put 2 pieces on either side of that. And then I peel up the centerpiece. And then I stick the centerpiece on next to the previous piece of tape. And then I put another piece of tape on the other side of that. And then I peel up that center piece of tape again. And I just repeat that over the whole sign so that I have stripes. And now I'm going to paint over the tape with some white chalk paint, just so that when I paint over it with the color, we don't have any bleed through. And now I'm painting over, once the chalk paint dries, we're painting over the whole thing with that blue. And now we're just peeling up the tape, and we have some pretty blue stripes. And now I have these scrap pieces of painter's sticks, and I cut them down to 3.5 inches. And now we took this, with this sign, we did the same thing with the tape, but we did them horizontally. And then I'm painting them with some of that aqua blue mixed with some white. And I wanted to do some thinner stripes on this third one, but I didn't have any tape that width that I wanted. So I just cut out the stripes on some vinyl with my silhouette. And then we just do the same thing. We just put those down, paint over it with the white first, and then paint over it with the color that we want. This one I'm doing a real light gray color. And we paint the roof and we paint the door the same color. And now I got these wood rings from the dollar store, and I paint it white. And then I made a little sign on my silhouette to fit over that wood ring. And it's really, really tiny, so it was kind of hard to do. With really small, detailed projects like this, I heard that it's best to use the washi setting for when you're cutting. And it actually did work really good for me. So now I'm just weeding off that excess vinyl, and then I stick it to my wood ring. And now I'm just painting some white stripes. Or white, that's not white, red. Red stripes on either side of the sign to make it look like a life preserver. So we're just painting on 4 red stripes. And there you go. What do you guys think? And now I'm just sanding down my houses just to give them a little more of a distressed look. So I just sand over the stripes, and then I'm sanding along the edge of those little roof pieces, and then I sand along the edge of the doors. And now we're just going to take some wood glue and glue those little roof pieces back onto the houses. And then with the doors, I'm going to do wood glue around the edge and then hot glue in the center of the door. The wood glue is for a permanent hold, and the hot glue is for an immediate hold. And now I'm just gluing on little decorations on the center of the houses. This one was a starfish clothespin from the Dollar Tree, and then we have our little life preserver that we made for this one. And then this one I took off of another beach sign that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to put it onto my house instead. And now I'm just taking the eraser of a pencil, dipping it in white paint, and then sticking it on the doors to make the doorknobs. And here we go. What do you guys think? I think this one out of all the projects is my favorite. Let me know in the comments below what's your favorite project. I think this one is so cute. I love the little nod to Gilligan's Island with the SS Minnow Life Preserver. And so for this project, we're taking these little wooden fish toys that I found at the Dollar Tree. And they had a little piece of wood on the bottom. I'm not sure what that was for. So I'm just taking my little razor blade tool and just prying those off. And now I'm taking some melted chocolate brown and I'm just going to paint just one coat over each of the fish on the back and the front and the sides and the whole thing. And now I'm going to go back in with this, I think it's blue bonnet color, and I'm dry brushing over the fish. I want some of that brown to show through, so I'm not trying to get some super great coverage, so I'm just dry brushing on to the fish. So on some of them, I'm going to dry brush over the head and the tail of the fish. And then on the other ones, I'm going to dry brush the blue over the center body area of the fish with that blue. And remember, make sure that some of that brown is showing through if you want it to look old and aged and distressed. And now with the areas that I didn't paint with the blue, I'm going to dry brush over with some white chalk paint. And now I'm just taking a little thumbtack and then these little ring eyelet hooks. I got these on Amazon, and I'm just using that thumbtack to put a little hole in the center of the fish's mouth, and then once I have that hole, I'm just screwing in that little eyelet hook. And now I got more of this jute twine that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to string it through that little eyelet hook on one of the fish, and then I tie a knot, and then with the excess jute twine, I just wrap it around that knot and hot glue it so that I don't have that extra piece showing anymore, so that we have a clean finished edge. And now I'm going to put some masking tape over the other end and string on a couple of these wooden beads that I got from the dollar store. They came in a bag of multiple sizes. And then I'm going to string that through the other eyelet hook on the other fish. And this was kind of hard to do because I wanted to tie that loop knot, so I got to string that fish through that knot. It's doable, but it was just kind of a pain in the butt. And so now I'm tying that loop knot onto the other fish. And then once I have it knotted the way I want, I'm going to take that extra piece of string and just wrap it around the knot a few times and hot glue it so that we don't have that extra string showing anymore. We have a clean finished edge. And then I just move 2 of those beads to the other fish. So each fish has 2 wood beads above it. And then, so I did that. I have 5 fish. I strung 2 and then 2. And then with the last one, I had to just string 1 onto a string. And then I just tied them all together with a loop knot. And then I had that extra piece of string from that single fish, and I just wrapped the excess string around that knot and then hot glued it so you didn't see the ends. And then I just put some hot glue on the fish in random spots so that they would lay flat and they wouldn't just all clump together. And here's the finished project. What do you guys think? So for this project, we're going to use this sign that we got from the dollar store, and I'm just going to pry off the frame and then rip off the picture and take that little metal C side off and try to keep it nice in case I want to use it for something else. And then we just sand the whole thing smooth, and then I just specially mixed this blue color and I'm painting it over the whole sign. And then I got this image off of Google Images and I traced it with my Silhouette Studio. And then I'm just going to weed the outside of the captain's wheel while it's attached to my transfer tape, just so I can tell where I want to place it once I place it on the sign. But I don't weed the whole thing because this was really difficult to do while it was attached to the transfer tape. And so now I'm just using some parchment paper so I can get the placement right on the sign. And then once I have it placed where I want, I remove that parchment paper and I stick it down. And then once I remove that transfer tape, I'm going to weed the rest of the sign off so that I have basically like a captain's wheel stencil. And once I have that all weeded, I'm going to go in with that same blue color and I'm going to paint over that. And then I'm going to mix some white with that blue color and then I'm going to paint over the darker blue. And then we're going to peel off our vinyl and then we're going to weed the rest of the sign so that we have a cute little captain's wheel. And when I was doing this, I accidentally messed up in a few spots, and so then I had to go back in and touch it up. But since I specially mixed that blue, I couldn't get the color exactly the same, so I suggest just buying a blue already the color you like. So now I'm trying to dry brush over the whole thing with that new blue so that it looks like it's on purpose. But then I accidentally went too dark over part of the captain's wheel, so now I'm trying to wash it off with a Q-tip and some water. And then I realized that I just messed it up and it doesn't look good right there. So then I decide just to go in with some sandpaper and just sand the whole thing down just to make it look distressed and to get rid of that ugly area that I made by using the water and the Q-tip. So now I made this beach house stencil with some vinyl in my silhouette. And I'm just weeding out the beach and the house and leaving that other area. And then we're going to place it on our sign like we did with the other one with the parchment paper. And then we just lay it down. And this one I forgot to show you how I painted it, but I'm going to show you in a minute. So I painted over that stencil with that white acrylic paint. And then we just peel up that vinyl. And now we're just dry brushing over the frame with some white paint just to give it a beachy look. And then we're going to use some wood glue and glue that frame back onto the sign. And now I'm showing you, I know you didn't get to see, but I'm just demonstrating. This is how I painted over the stencil. I didn't do the way you normally would. I was trying to give it like the appearance of brush strokes, so I'm painting it like I would if there wasn't a stencil there, but I wanted to have those clean lines and I knew I couldn't do it on my own, so I put the stencil down first and then I painted like I was showing you right there. And now I'm just going to, I pry up one side of that string, and then I'm putting some more of those dollar store wood beads onto the string hanger just to give it a little more detail. And now I got this nautical rope from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to tie like a nautical knot, and I'm just showing you how I did it. And once I have that knot the way I like it, I cut off the extra, and then I'm just hot gluing those strands together so that it doesn't come unraveled. And then I'm just hot gluing my little nautical knot onto the bottom of my sign. And that's it. What do you guys think? Now for this project, this is our last project, I'm taking this wreath form from the dollar store, and then I got some of these plaster strips off of Amazon. And this is I did this back in high school. We made masks with this plaster fabric, and so I thought it would be fun to cover this starfish wreath form with those plastic strips. Or plaster, not plastic. But I just cut the strips into triangles because it said that it would lay better on your project if you cut them into triangles as opposed to just rectangular strips. So I covered the whole entire front side with that, and then I just took some saran wrap and crumpled it up and filled that empty space in the back. And now we're just going to cover the whole back side with those plaster strips as well. And I forgot to mention, you dip the strips in water and then you smooth them over your object. And now we have this spackle that I got from Walmart. I was going to get some from the Dollar Tree, but I could not find it at Dollar Tree, so I got some from Walmart. And then I'm using this little rubber spatula that I got from the dollar store. And we're just going to smooth it over that entire starfish. And once that's dry, I let it dry overnight. I'm taking a damp cloth and I'm just rubbing over it with that damp cloth. And what this does is it smooths out all those bumps and lumps and makes your project look nicer and smoother. As you can see, it's starting to get smooth here. And then once that was done, I'm going back over where I missed, where there's like some holes. And I'm just filling in those holes with a small little palette knife. And then I smooth over that again with the damp cloth once it dries again. And now I got these little bead stickers from the dollar store. And I'm just sticking them onto the starfish to give it like that bumpy look like starfishes have. And now I have 2 different bags of sand. I thought the blue one was rougher texture, so that's why I got both of these. And I'm just covering the entire starfish with Mod Podge and then dumping the sand on. And at this point I thought it looked cute, but then I go back in with the Mod Podge and I dab it over the white sand. And then I pour that blue sand on. And then at this point, I thought, oh my gosh, I totally destroyed this thing. It looks horrible. But I keep going. So once I have all that sand on there and it's dry, I cover all the sand with a layer of Mod Podge just to seal it in. And then I go in with that khaki tan color that we've been using, and I just paint the entire thing, the front and the back, with that khaki brown until you can't see any of that sand or white anymore. So it's a solid tan brown color. And then I'm going to dry brush over the entire thing with some white chalk paint. And this just gives it more texture and dimension. And I think it makes it look better. So I just dry brush over the entire front side with that white chalk paint. And then once that's covered completely, I turn it over to the back side and I dry brush over the back. And that's it. Once I completed it, I thought, okay, it doesn't look horrible anymore. I think it looks better now. What do you guys think? And that's it. That's all the projects. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing to my channel. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye! If that sounds like my channel, it's hot in here. Welcome. I'm so glad you. Welcome. I'm so glad you found me. Please consider subscribing to my channel. I get like rushed. I want to rush through it, and then I start tripping over my words,
I need to just slow down a little bit. Hi guys, welcome. That sounded bad. Continue, consider. All right.